It started with a phone call I almost didn't answer. You know those moments when your gut already knows it's bad news, but curiosity just wins? Yeah, that was me, sitting on my balcony in Denver with a mug of coffee, half asleep, hair in a messy bun, watching the light spill across the skyline. It was a Saturday morning, my sacred quiet time, no alarms, no meetings, just birds and caffeine. Then my phone buzzed. Mom lit up on the screen. I stared at it for a second too long. We hadn't spoken in months, and she never called without a reason. I should have let it go to voicemail, but of course, I didn't. Evelyn, she said, the way someone says your name when they're already rehearsing what comes next. Sweetheart, we're outside. I nearly dropped the mug. Outside where? Your building, dear. And that was it. 5 seconds later, like a horror movie cue, there was a knock at the door. Sharp, impatient. I swear my heartbeat matched a rhythm. I peeked through the peephole, and yep, there they were. My parents, the ghosts of my childhood, looking painfully alive and dressed like they'd come straight from brunch in a country club magazine. The thing about my parents showing up unannounced is that it's never simple. It's never "we missed you, honey." It's always something that will somehow cost me money, peace, dignity, pick your poison. But I opened the door anyway because I'm still that well-trained daughter who can't resist playing host. Mom swept inside first, all perfume and criticism in one swoosh of her floral scarf. Dad followed, hands in his pockets like he was inspecting a property he might invest in. Well, this is cozy, Mom said, eyeing my living room. The tone said quaint, but her face said how tragic. Good to see you too, I managed, closing the door behind them. Coffee? No, thank you, Dad said, sitting down stiffly like the sofa might bite. He exchanged a look with Mom, the here we go look I remembered all too well, and then she clasped her hands. Evelyn, she began, sugar-laced but brittle. We need your help. It's about Elena. Of course it was. It always is. I let out the kind of sigh that comes from a lifetime of smaller sighs stitched together. What's wrong with Elena? I asked, though wrong wasn't quite it. What does she need now? Mom fluttered nervously. It's her wedding. Things have gotten complicated. I sat down across from them, already exhausted by the conversation that hadn't even started. Complicated how? Dad cleared his throat. Financially. The number they dropped next made my brain short-circuit. $75,000. They said it like they were asking to borrow a little sugar. I'm sorry, what? It's for the wedding, Mom rushed to say, as if the repetition would make it sound rational. You know how expensive venues are these days. And Julian's family has certain expectations, prestige, you understand. We just can't look cheap. I stared at her. You want me to pay for your golden child's designer wedding? Mom's smile froze. Don't call her that, but that's what she is, I said quietly. It's wild, isn't it? How people can wound you with history. A single sentence and I was 10 years old again, standing in a kitchen holding a deflated balloon while Mom canceled my birthday party because Elena had a sore throat. Same script, different year. Dad leaned forward, using that firm, reasonable voice that's meant to sound logical but really just bulldozes you. We raised you, Evelyn. You're successful now. You've done very well for yourself, haven't you? We're simply asking you to help the family. Help the family. That line always made my skin crawl. Because in my family, help meant sacrifice yourself for Elena and be grateful we noticed. Let me get this straight, I said slowly. You refused to co-sign my college loan because debt offended you. But now you want $75,000 for a wedding? Mom's expression didn't even flicker. That was different. Different how? She hesitated. It's Elena's wedding, dear. You wouldn't understand. You ever feel your chest go tight? Like you're trying not to scream through a smile? That's how it felt. Right, I said. Because Elena deserves perfection, and I'm just the reliable spare. Dad's eyes hardened. This attitude is unbecoming, Evelyn. We taught you values. Funny how neglect gets rebranded as values. I stood up. You know what? I think you should leave. Mom blinked. Evelyn, don't be dramatic. I'm not being dramatic, I said, my voice shaking but louder now. I'm setting a boundary. That's a thing healthy adults do. Goodbye. They didn't move. For a second, it was a standoff me. The daughter who learned to be silent, finally saying no. Dad's jaw clenched, and Mom's face flushed, but they must have recognized something in me that dared them to keep pushing, because they left. Not gracefully, not quietly, but they left. And as the door clicked shut, I realized my hands were shaking, but it wasn't fear anymore. It was adrenaline. Liberation, maybe. I locked the door and stood there, heart hammering. The silence in that room was deafening, but in a weird way it was clean, like the air after a storm. And then I grabbed my car keys and drove straight to the only place that had ever felt like home, my grandparents' little yellow bungalow on the edge of town. When Grandma opened the door, she took one look at me and said, "They came asking for money, didn't they?" I burst out laughing and crying at the same time. $75,000. Her eyes widened. For what? A spaceship. We sat at the kitchen table, the one covered in a floral vinyl tablecloth that's probably older than me. She made tea. She always made tea, no matter the problem, and I spilled everything. The audacity, the guilt, the awful, empty feeling of having your parents treat your success like a family fund. Grandpa was at the table too, mostly quiet until the end. Then he said, "Don't you dare give them a dime. We didn't raise you to bankroll manipulation." And that word manipulation hit like a stone in the chest, because, finally, someone else said it. I stayed there until dark, sipping tea, feeling the anger soften into exhaustion. They reminded me who I was. They reminded me that being generous doesn't mean being used. The next day, I woke up feeling steelier, calm but resolved. I went to work, crushed deadlines, came home, cooked pasta, and waited. Because I knew the story wasn't over. My parents don't retreat, they regroup. Sure enough, Friday morning, sharp, doorbell rings. I swear they planned things with military precision. They waltzed and dressed like lawyers on a mission. Dad even had a folder this time. He put it right on my coffee table and said, "This is the venue contract. We just need your check today so we can lock it in." I smiled a dangerous, slow smile. "Good morning to you too." They didn't get the joke. "I'm not writing you a check," I said calmly. They blinked. "What?" Mom snapped first. "I'm not paying for Elena's wedding." The room froze. Mom's lip quivered like she'd just watched someone murder her reputation. "Evelyn, do you realize what you're doing? People will talk. Julian's family, you should be more worried about the therapist's family after all this." I cut in, surprising even myself. "Dad, shut up. Enough with your sarcasm. You will do your part, young lady." I laughed. "Young lady? I'm 28. You can't ground me for not sponsoring an open bar." You could see it, the disbelief, the slow horror dawning on their faces as they realized I wasn't bluffing. Dad tried his last card. "If you don't do this, you're turning your back on your family. We will not forget this betrayal." And I said, "I think that's the first thing you and I agree on." "Please don't forget." "Because I certainly won't." And then, before any of us could react, there was a gasp from the hallway. Elena! She was standing there, holding her car keys, mascara smudged, eyes wide. She looked smaller, softer, like someone who'd just woken up from a bad dream. "Evelyn's right," she said quietly. You could have heard a pin drop. My parents turned, completely thrown. "Elena, sweetheart, you don't understand," Mom started. But Elena shook her head. "No, Mom, I do. I've been pretending not to, but I do. You keep trying to show off for everyone else and it's exhausting. I don't even want a big wedding." It was surreal, watching her talk back, her voice trembling but clear. She told them she was tired of being coddled, tired of expectations, tired of being their shining proof that everything looked perfect. "I don't need your money," she said, "and I definitely don't need hers." For the first time, I saw her as more than the golden child. I saw her as a woman finally breaking out of that gilded cage. She looked at me and whispered, "I'm sorry for all of it." And you know what? I believed her. Maybe not all the way, not instantly, but enough to feel the old hurt ease a little. Our parents stormed off after that, furious, humiliated, whatever. Doors slammed, footsteps echoed down the hall, and then silence again. But this time, that silence was full. Elena stayed for hours. We talked. We laughed awkwardly. We cried a little too. For the first time in our lives, it was just us, no competition, no audience. We planned her wedding over takeout noodles. A tiny ceremony in a park, flowers from the farmer's market, thrift shop dress. 2 months later, she married Julian under a string of fairy lights. No drama, no show, no demands, just joy. Our parents didn't come, and that was okay. That day, watching my sister dance in her $40 dress, surrounded by laughter instead of expectations, something in me exhaled. I stopped chasing their approval. I stopped replaying old stories in my head. I realized family doesn't have to mean blood. It means choice. A few weeks later, Mom texted me. Just 3 words. We saw photos. I didn't reply. Some things don't need answers. But I did put my phone down, look around my little apartment, same gray sofa, same Denver sunlight streaming across the floor, and thought, this is peace. Quiet, earned, precious peace. If you've ever been the responsible one, the quiet one, the invisible backbone holding everyone else's chaos together, you know how heavy that crown gets. But sometimes the bravest thing you'll ever do is simply say no. Because no isn't rejection, it's protection. So if Evelyn's story sounds familiar, if you've ever been guilted into fixing what you didn't break, this one's for you. You can rewrite your story too. If this resonated, don't forget to subscribe to Revenge Diary for more real stories about courage, boundaries, and finding strength when it matters most. And share this video with someone who needs that little reminder they don't owe anyone the peace they fought to build.